I joined the best go-kart team in my series for a single race of the Dutch Championship, and you won't believe how that panned out.
Bram Ossiswater and Tommy van der Struijs are on row number 1. Now we got problems down at turn number 4. Kart spinning included while the race leader...
So how did we end up in this situation? Well, let me show you. This is SR Solutions, one of the biggest and best performing professional go-kart teams in the Netherlands. This season I haven't really competed much in my home country, so we decided to go back to my roots in the Dutch Rotax Max Challenge. So let's dive into Friday practice at Circuitpark Bergen. So today we are racing on the Grand Prix layout, which is a layout which has a little bit of everything. Tight technical sections, awkward chicanes, but also a flat out main straight and an awesome and fast first sector. So this mix of everything makes it difficult in terms of driving, but also kart setup. Here's how it's going so far. We're struggling. The pace just isn't really there and we're falling behind most drivers. For example, when we get overtaken by the 345, we can analyze where we are losing time. In this fast left-hander and right-left chicane, we could stay right with him. So the space deficit definitely didn't come from the fast corners. The real problem starts in the slow corners. On entry and in the middle of the corner it all looks okay, but once we get to the exit of the corner, we lose big time. Now, it's tempting to blame engine power on this, but trust me, this thing is fast. Instead, I think it comes down to 3 different factors. Number 1, my driving. I have always struggled in high grip conditions like these. And at this track, when there's lots of cars putting down rubber and the sun comes out, it just gets extremely grippy. Number 2, my weight. Over the years, I have gained some weight, which means that I am now 6 kilograms over the weight limit for senior Rotax. This gives me a heavier and higher center of gravity. A high center of gravity gives more body roll, so much so that on multiple occasions the car tried to flip over on me. Now, as you can see, the 354 is also a tall driver, but you can mitigate being tall with setup to an extent. However, with setup you cannot really tackle the extra weight, which leads me to the following point. Number 3, the setup. Luckily, this is something that can be worked on. So the main focus was to reduce the amount of rolling resistance we had when exiting corners, and you can do that by removing grip from the rear. These things helped a little bit, but it still didn't really get us towards the front. The most frustrating thing was that even on the data and on the GoPro footage, everything just looked normal, but we were just losing time throughout the entire lap, and our team boss and coaches didn't really know what to do about it. So finding your way in a weekend like this can be difficult, especially when you're new. Luckily there are 2 new ways in which you can get free information from karting. One of which is to join the channel's Discord server with karting drivers from all over the world. Link in description. And whilst you're there, go give my driver development pages a follow. Anyways, we were not giving up for this weekend. Tomorrow is another day and we'll keep working hard to solve our problems.
Well guys, that was the day and that was pretty difficult. Yeah, we're just too slow. Same problem as usual, basically. Just when the grip comes, we just seem to lose speed, and yeah, there's no real indication of why.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's Ralph. How was your day, man? Were you also slow?
No, I was very quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Still 7/10 of the pace.
No, it's not true, man.
Oh, did you? You have to say it for the viewers. You been it in
The mud.
Yeah.
I've been it in the mud.
I came from the mud. Okay. See you tomorrow.
Alright, time for Saturday practice, where things get a lot more serious. Just like in F1, Friday practice is really just a case of gathering information, trying out a bunch of things. But once Saturday practice rolls around is when people really start picking up the pace. So Friday practice doesn't really say anything about your pace just yet, but on Saturday we'll have a better understanding of where we are in terms of pace. Because today we will also be running new tires, the best possible setup and a fast engine. So long story short, our pace deficit shrunk from being a back marker to about half a second from the front guys, which is still a lot. We were now only a little bit faster than the back markers. How wonderful. So after all the driving is done, karts undergo something called technical scrutineering, which is nothing more than the organization having a look at the kart and determining whether or not it is safe and legal to race. Which it was. Anyways, if we still wanted at least a small chance of doing well this weekend, something had to change drastically.
Well guys, good morning. We just came to the track and it's wet, so that changes things. The weather is going to be all wishy-washy today, so I really don't know how today's going to go. But yeah, this changes things. As you can see by the van, it's wet. That's raining.
Yes guys, it started raining on Sunday. This is a massive benefit for us because, as you guys know, we are always fast in the rain. So we would get our first taste of this in the warm-up, after which we had qualifying, pre-final, and then the most important race of the weekend, the final. So let's see how the warm-up went, shall we? Boom. P1. But Red, it says here that you're in P4. Shut up. I know it says here that I'm in P4, but if you actually look at the guys who are ahead of me, you can see that their lap times are quite unrealistic. And that is because during practice in karting, it is allowed to cut a part of the track to give yourself some better track position. So that is what these 3 guys did, which is completely legal, but it does mean that they are in front of us in the timing, and the organization just forgot to remove them from the timing sheets. Anyways, what this shows is that once the grip goes down, we are instantly one of the fastest drivers of the field, taking P1 by a massive 0.8 of a second. So the disadvantage we had in high grip conditions by creating so much grip in the kart with our body is actually a massive advantage when grip is low, which is really logical if you think about it. Anyways, the heavens opened up even more for qualifying, which meant that we had to completely change the setup of the kart, and more importantly, we had a job to do. Time for qualifying, and unlike qualifying in F1, go-kart qualifying is really simple. You get one session of 5 to 10 minutes in which everyone has to set their lap time, so we all go out on track at the same time. This means, however, that not getting stuck in traffic and having free track ahead of you to set your lap time can be a bit tricky. And that is why I take it super easy on this outlap, so that I can create a lot of distance between me and any drivers who are ahead of me. So we warm up the tires for one lap and start pushing immediately. And even though I left an entire Milky Way of space between me and the traffic ahead, I caught up to one of the guys in only a few corners. This means that we have to overtake him or this lap is just finished. And the fact that we caught up to one of these guys in only a few corners while I left such a big gap gave me the idea that we were definitely one of the fastest cars on track at the moment. And once I crossed the line, that idea was confirmed to me. Boom. P1 again after our first push lap. But then, drama. Full course yellow and code slow. Now code slow in karting is similar to the virtual safety car in Formula 1. So no overtaking, no pushing and definitely no improvements of your lap time are allowed here. So this kind of reset qualifying and gave us a small grace period in which we could think of a strategy to defend the P1 that I was currently in. So unfortunately there's no real way to know how long a code slow like this is going to take. 1. The code slow will remain until the end of the session, which means that we will definitely get P1 no matter what. But the second, much less fortunate option is that the code slow will end before the session ends, which means that we will have 1 or 2 or 3 more push laps in which we will have to defend our pole position. So I started preparing for the worst case scenario, which was that the code slow would end soon. That means that I would have to start pushing again, and that means I need clear track ahead of me to be able to push. Luckily, there's one grey area in this code slow rule, and that is that you're supposed to slow down, but the rules don't specify by how much you should slow down. So I thought, what if I just take it super easy, create a big train behind me, create a Milky Way of distance in front of me, so that when the code slow is finished, I can push it with free track ahead of me. That's exactly what I did. This meant that we had free track and all of the other fast drivers didn't. And once the code slow was over and we got green flags, instantly send it. We nailed every braking zone, we nailed every apex, every traction zone, and that allowed us to improve our previous time by a lot. Yes guys, that's pole position at the National Championship in the Rotax Max Senior class by a whopping 1.3 seconds. Actually, our pace advantage in this session was so great that even if we didn't pull our big brain move and had our second push lap, we would still have gotten pole. Safe to say, our pace in these conditions at that specific weekend was absolutely unmatched by anyone. So, let's see how we do in the pre-final. Yeah, after that dream qualifying, the track dried up, and that meant this pre-final was going to be very difficult. We were back to our big lack of pace in the dry, which really made this race just a matter of damage limitation.
Senior Rotax drivers heading out onto the circuit, 31 of them on a damp but drying track. Here is your starting lineup. Bram Ossiswaarder and Tommy van der Stroys are on row number 1. Wout Kirstjens and Ralph van der Pever on row number 2. Have a little look as they cross the line. Yep, everybody nearly on slick tyres. Somebody at the back slow away there. That was the number 369.
Good initial getaway. Defensive lines into turns 1 and 2 allow us to maintain the lead for now. But then, turn 4 happened.
Kart of Max Costa. Now we got problems down at turn number 4.
Well, shit, there goes our pole position. Nothing much we really could have done about it there. The 366 saw a gap. We closed it shut in his face. He braked on the wet. We touch. Racing incident if you ask me. So we lose a few positions. But then in the next corner, we make a big blunder by ourselves. Yeah, we saw a gap, we went for it, but we didn't think it through. That meant that we ended up on the wet side of the track in the next corner, which completely ruined our run throughout the next corners, and we lost a buttload of positions. That makes this first lap definitely the biggest fumble of my career ever. And for the rest of this race, I had to hang on for dear life, because as you guys know, we are definitely not fast enough in these conditions. Once we cross the finish line, we get promoted from P12 to P8 due to the penalties of other drivers. Still, starting on pole position and then finishing in P8 is nothing to be proud of. Terrible race. So we just have the final to go now, and I have to say, the start of the final didn't really look too bad. We only lost one position at the start and we gained it back on lap 2. And for now, we were able to keep up with the top 7 just fine. Even in the cornery bits we were now more than able to just stay with our teammate here, Plom. Unfortunately, just a little bit later, this race went completely down the toilet. We suddenly lost all pace, especially on the long straights at this track. We just got overtaken on every single straight. And we could just do absolutely nothing about it. And trust me, being a racing driver, getting overtaken because of some mechanical issues is one of the most frustrating things you can ever experience. We lost even more positions on the straight and then bring it home in P22, which becomes P18 after penalties, but I really don't care about it. Terrible race. So you might be wondering, Red, what caused your sudden lack of pace in that final after it seemed to be going well in the first part? Well, I'm glad you asked, because actually we found it out and it was caused by this thing. So this thing is a lightweight battery which we use to save a little bit of weight for the race. But unfortunately, it decided to fail on us and it no longer works now. So really, that was no one's fault. Pure bad luck. So yeah, this weekend is basically a really average weekend with one insanely good point, and that was of course that qualifying. Still, I would like to say a huge shout out and thank you to the team SR Solutions. We tried our best. I would like to thank JVD Power for the fast engine that he provided to me at this race. My mechanic Bart for working his butt off and trying everything imaginable to find at least some pace. Also a big thank you to my dad for supporting me financially in this race, because without him this definitely would not have been possible. And of course a massive thank you to you guys, the viewers, because without you none of this here would have been ever possible, ever. So guys, be sure to check out my last Rotax race in which we were actually able to achieve something, which is on screen here. For now though, see you guys next time. Peace.